Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new series me and Dino have been cooking up for a while. We're ranking every team, doing our preseason power rankings, while also giving a little bit, I say a little bit, this is going to be an hour-long video each. I give a little preview for every team while we're going through the power rankings. First video is up on his channel, part 32. He's doing the evens, I'm doing the odds. Today we're doing the Commanders. We did the Patriots in the last episode. If you're interested in that, feel free to check it out. The link will be in the description. I hope you all enjoy the video, and we're just going to jump into this Washington Commanders. Dino, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself before going on about this pitiful franchise?
Yeah, well, Dino Talks Sports. I'm a film guy on TikTok. If you want to follow me there, it's the same name as you see in my face cam. But yeah, let's just get right into it, starting with this coaching, this culture. Maybe, I don't know if you agree. I think we kind of talked about this. Dan Quinn, kind of the scraps of the coaching cycle, I think we would say, right?
Yeah, so that's the thing that sucks more than anything. It's one thing when a team brings in a head coach because their guys weren't available. It's another thing when everyone knows it. Right? That's a lot worse, especially for the locker room, because if I'm someone that just got drafted by Dan Quinn or someone that got drafted the year before, I know you're being replaced. I'm not listening to you. Like, why should I have confidence in you, the guy that will be gone next year? The owner clearly doesn't want you. I'm not, how am I supposed to be excited to play for you? You know, I think from a locker room perspective, that's going to be awful. And then you keep in mind that this organization has had one of the worst cultures in all of sports for a while. Yeah, it's hard to really say that this locker room and just overall the facility will be anything great. You know, they've been a laughingstock.
Absolute laughingstock. And, you think back to Dan Quinn, I think he's fine. But,
yeah,
the last performance we just saw, we remember the last performance we just saw him against that Packers offense. Like, there's some issues, and he does not have the talent that he did in Dallas, that he does on this team. He just absolutely does not.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at this, again, I want to look at this purely from a culture perspective right now, and then we'll go into the defense and, the schematics and how Dan Quinn runs his defense later on. But, I mean, as a culture guy, I've heard some good things about Dan Quinn, but he's not a Pete Carroll. You know, he's not some, oh, yeah, we have a lot of issues, but it's okay. You guys love me. I love my players. We're going to get through. He's not that. He's not someone that's going to put together an already kind of torn apart locker room. That's not what he's going to do. This organization's in a very difficult spot. They're revamping. Of course, they have a new owner, all that good stuff. So that gives me a little bit of optimism, and Dan Quinn is someone who, like we said, a little bit of a better culture guy. But, I mean, it's still the Commanders, man.
It's still the Commanders.
Whether or not it's remnants, there are still some dysfunction. There's still dysfunction in that organization, without a doubt. And just the Dan Quinn hiring being such a clear...
Excuse me.
Being such a clear, I can't find anyone better, bless you, by the way, type of move, that doesn't really make me feel too great.
And I want to say, it's got to sting after being mocked Ben Johnson for months, and then you end up with Dan Quinn. And I mean, I don't want to disrespect Dan Quinn. He's done a lot of good things. It's Ben Johnson. You feel a lot better about this team with Ben Johnson as the head coach. Sure.
Because even if, listen, Dan Quinn over Ben Johnson, there's a little bit of an argument because Dan Quinn has experience as a head coach. Ben Johnson doesn't. Ben Johnson has only been an offensive-minded guy. There's a lot of different advantages Dan Quinn has.
Right.
But for a team like the Commanders that's trying to rebuild the way that they're trying to rebuild, they would much rather swing for the fences and miss with a Ben Johnson that will really, if he fails, it's okay, you're not really on the clock. Then take the really safe play with Dan Quinn. They're not a team that needs the safe play. They want the risky option. Because the risky option, if it works out, that guarantees a rebuild. Meanwhile, if Dan Quinn works out, they're kind of just in the same spot.
Essentially. And before we get to the coordinators and such, I think this is a very unique situation to mention. Bob Myers is in the building here. Bob Myers, one of the orchestrators for that Warriors dynasty. They bring him in to help with football stuff. It might just be me. I don't feel super comfortable with a basketball guy helping with the decisions for a football team. And it might explain some of their questionable draft picks, but hey, who knows? I just thought it'd be worth mentioning because Bob Myers did orchestrate a great dynasty. I don't think it moves the needle or anything, but thought it'd be worth a mention.
The Myers play, the way I look at it, if it works, it's changing the league. It's changing sports. Okay?
Yeah.
If it works, it's genius. If it doesn't work, everyone's going to laugh at it.
Yeah.
It's one of those type of, one or the other, there is no middle type of moves. In my mind, that's how I look at it. Listen, again, Quinn has been a head coach before, and he seems to be a little bit more of a culture guy. But still, there's so much wrong there. There's no way it works out, in my mind.
No.
There truly is. But let's move over to that offensive unit. Let's go into the specifics, not just the culture. Do we like that scheme with Kingsbury, or what do we think?
The thing is, if we're talking about the players, it's a scheme.
Let's look at the scheme.
Okay, just scheme by itself. No, I don't like Cliff Kingsbury's scheme.
We're in agreement. We're in agreement. It is a very college. I mean, he's a college guy. He's a very college.
It's air raid in the NFL.
It's air raid in the NFL, which is fine, but where's the little zing? You got to have something that really.
You got to have a wrinkle. You got to have
exactly.
Something.
There has to be something you can't just run a vanilla air raid spread. It doesn't work. You have to have something. You got to have motion, something that really differentiates you, right? You can't just have the best vanilla cake on the market, right?
No.
Because it's still a vanilla cake. Like what's special about it? But you add a little bit of breadcrumbs or whatever the hell you would add.
Strawberries per se.
Strawberries. I don't know who puts breadcrumbs on cake, but chocolate syrup, whatever the hell. Add something to really make it stand out. Because the fact is, a vanilla cake's still a vanilla cake. What's the upside there? All right? How are you gonna differentiate yourself? He doesn't. He differentiates himself because he got lucky and had Mahomes in college. That's
something people keep bringing up is, well, he coached Mahomes. I don't care. He's.
Hold on. So you're telling me that Jaden Daniels isn't guaranteed to be a 3-time MVP?
I know it's a hot take. No.
I'll believe it when I see it. Kingsbury, it's just his plays you could find on Madden. Go on Madden, go to the default spread playbook, and you'll see a lot of his plays. There's no, if you see that the safety is taking the middle third, change your route from a seam to just a straight go. It's none of that stuff.
I think vanilla is a very good word to describe it, as you said. It's
exactly.
Vanilla.
And because of that, there's no wrinkle. You have to be able to differentiate yourself in some way, shape, or form. Kingsbury doesn't do that at all.
Nope.
And the year isn't 2014 anymore, okay? You're no longer a special, unique offense just because you're running a lot of shotgun, okay? Because everyone does that. A lot of 11 personnel. Oh, wow. Really reinventing the wheel, aren't you? Everyone's running 3 wide, 1 tight end, 1 running back. Everyone is. That's nothing new. But you're doing it without any motion. That's not a good thing.
No.
You're doing it with some of the most basic passing concepts, basic route concepts imaginable. Again, this is college stuff. This is a college offense being ran at an NFL level. I've actually seen college offenses a lot more creative than this. It's really, really basic. if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm game planning to play against the Washington Commanders, and I'm talking about the offense. I'm talking my defense about your offense. I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, we're playing against a traditional air raid team. Let's go out and practice. Like, there's nothing specific I want to go over because there's nothing specific you're doing in a unique way. Now, again, it's been a while since we've seen Kingsbury coach. Maybe it'll be a little bit different, but I don't know. We'll see. He incorporates the QB run a little bit. Okay, that's nice. Still, not 2014. That's nothing new. Again, it's a really, really basic offense. They don't like to run the ball. Okay, good to know. When they do, it's inside zone. Okay, cool. Nothing special is going on here. Nothing whatsoever.
I agree. I completely agree. And again, we'll get to how it kind of fits with the roster that they've built around this system. But let's get right into that.
Yeah,
got done.
That's kind of what I look at, right? As much as I hate that scheme, I got to admit, they did build the roster around it pretty well. I truly do feel that way, especially the quarterback position. Listen, I know that a lot of people, such as yourself, prefer Drake May. I don't. But if you're looking at someone to play this air raid, vertical, outside the numbers offense, Jaden Daniels was undoubtedly the pick. Any disagreement?
No, if there's a quarterback that's going to run this offense, it's Jaden Daniels. I agree. My whole thought process behind it is more like, I did not love Jaden Daniels really that much at all. Well, not at all. I think that's a long way to put it. But do you really want to make the pick into an objectively bad scheme? Yes, it's a good fit. We're looking at the fit overall. I think he has a chance to succeed in it. But at the end of the day, you're picking this player into a bad scheme. I just think that's kind of a recipe for disaster. But I digress. We'll get into Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, no, let's go ahead and get into it now. So, listen. I look at it like this. The issues with Jaden Daniels, which there are a lot, I'm not denying that. Passing over the middle, it's not great. It's not, he doesn't do a very good job timing his throws when they're going across the middle. He doesn't really pay much attention to the checkdowns either. But then, how much does that really matter with Kingsbury's offense? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't. It frankly doesn't. And then, okay, the pressure to sack rate. No disagreement from me. No disagreement. I think that's going to be a huge problem. We're going to get into that offensive line later. I think that's going to make that problem even worse.
Yes.
But, despite that stuff, I still think if I'm looking at a quarterback to start in today's league, right off the bat, and you're asking me to pick any of these guys, and I know this is a hot take, I don't care. You tell me to pick any of these guys, I think the most pro-ready, or the one who is ready to succeed in the NFL the most, is Jaden Daniels. Because, okay, yes, throwing across the middle, not very good. Pressure sack rate, not very good. But what he does with his legs, that is something that really raises his floor.
Right.
A lot. Without a doubt. Just because of the athleticism alone. Without a doubt. And I think the ability to place the NFL ball where it needs to be placed, on the sideline, out-breaking routes, he does that. He does that very well. Is he someone that goes from read to read overly well? No, but I do think he shows a relative understanding of coverages and where not to throw a football. He's not someone that really puts the ball in harm's way. Now, does he sometimes take a sack because he just holds the ball too long instead of going to that next read? Sure. I do think that's something he absolutely should be improving on. I do think he shows the ability to improve on that. But again, we're talking about where he currently is. I think what he does with his legs and the fact that he can place the NFL passes where they need to be placed, I think that really raises his floor a lot more than a Drake May, even a Caleb Williams, who I don't think shows the ability to play in structure, or shows the willingness to play in structure, is my gripe with Caleb Williams. But that's kind of a conversation for when we get to the Bears. I like Jaden Daniels in terms of ability to play right now. I do. Because of his mobility, because of his arm, because he shows the understanding of where not to throw the football. I feel very good about him as a starter day one. I do. Now, this situation isn't ideal because of the offensive line, but the scheme really covers up the weaknesses in his game, I believe.
So I can agree with that, especially because he's on this team and in this offense. So it's not a learning curve for him. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be asking him to do stuff he's not good at.
Yeah.
Now, if he
was on a Shanahan team, it's awful. If he was on a Shanahan team, this looks terrible. But he's not, and he never would have been. I mean, that's like trying to project Tua onto the Chiefs. Like, no, It's not happening.
Right. So, but I think Jaden Daniels can put together a potentially good rookie season. And otherwise than that, Marcus Mariota, ideal backup to Daniels and what you're asking him to do, of course. Jeff Driscoll, I actually liked Sam Hartman a little bit. Like, I thought he was draftable, not like early rounds or anything, but like I was surprised he wasn't drafted. I was surprised Joe Milton got taken over him.
People really love the traits.
Of course, I understand that. I don't. I watched Joe Milton play quarterback, and I was. But I was of the opinion that he should have moved to tight end.
When you scout Joe Milton, it's not about how he plays quarterback. It's about, wow, look at how far he could throw an orange.
Correct. So, but Sam Hartman being there is a little interesting, of course. But this is Jaden Daniels' team. It's got decent quarterback depth, and he's got some good weapons. Well, he's got some. There's a top heavy weapons on this team, I would say. Mm-hmm. And nothing more top-heavy than Terry McLaurin himself, one of the more underrated and underappreciated players that is in the league today. He is just fantastic as a receiver, man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, McLaurin, you throw the ball, you need someone to adjust to it while it's in the air. Remarkable job. I think he's still a criminally underrated player. It's because he's never had the great QB play. I don't know if he ever will. If Jaden Daniels is getting sacked as often as we think he will, and again, we'll get to that when we get to that. I don't know if he'll get the time to go downfield, but when he does get a good ball thrown his way, when he does get the ball off, I'm expecting Terry McLaurin to come down with it because that's what he's made a career out of doing. A very reliable quarterback's best friend type of receiver that could extend the field and make plays. That he just finds a way to come down with the football. It's amazing, and he's a good route runner too. He's fast. Very, very talented player. Gotta love McLaurin. And if you don't love McLaurin, it's because you haven't watched him.
It's because you are. I don't know how you can like Terry McLaurin. It just that's a confusing thought. But then you look at the wide receiver too, going into his third year now, Jahan Dotson, and I liked Dotson coming out of college quite a bit, and he showed some really good flashes in year one. You expect in a year or two, rise, and then he just kind of didn't really play up to par. I watched the tape. I thought he was good. I thought he definitely struggled last year. But maybe in this new offense, maybe with a better quarterback play, which you're hoping to get out of Jaden Daniels, he could turn into what you want him to be as a first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Jahan Dotson is a player I look at, and he'll never be what McLaurin is right now.
No.
But he shows the ability to play a very different role. The separator, right? The finesse route runner. Because that's the thing. He could run the entire route tree and run it really well. Quick cutter, good after the catch. I really like what Jahan Dotson brings to the table. I think he complements Terry McLaurin really well. However, I am at a point, he's going into year 3, right? I just cannot believe this Jahan Dotson breakout is ever going to happen. Right. That being said, he still is one of the best twos in the league in my mind.
Yeah.
I truly do see. He's not Devonta Smith, he's not T. Higgins, but after that tier, that's really where I see him. I think he's one of the best twos in the league. I don't think he'll ever be a 1, but I think he's a very good 2. Very good 2.
And then that's kind of where it stops. Well, maybe not. I kind of like De'Ami Brown too.
That's the thing. I like the guys. I just don't think any of them are like a consistent 3. They have a lot of guys
Yeah,
that I
there we
think
go.
of
That's what I
as like high-end 4s. But
Absolutely.
you need a wide receiver 3. Unless they're just rotating based on the matchups, which I guess that's fine. Like, it's not... If you're going to be weak at wide receiver 3, that's not the end of the world. It truly isn't. Like, I see a lot of guys here that I like.
Not. Yeah. I do want to touch on Luke McCaffrey and that pick. I thought that was very much an overdraft.
Mm-hmm.
I had more of a 5th to 6th round grade on McCaffrey than where he ended up going.
Did you know that he's Christian McCaffrey's brother, though?
If I knew that maybe I would have taken him earlier.
I know, exactly. Like, you got to keep in mind, that is the most important factor in a draft prospect. Who are they related to?
Right up there with Joe Milton Orange.
Exactly, right up there. Like, nearly, in terms of what's more important, how far can they throw? The Orange, of course, top priority. Of course. And then right after that, Nick Sirianni, rock, paper, scissors test. And then, who are they related to? You know, it's...
Exactly.
Scouting's a simple science, really. I mean, when we see Luke McCaffrey light the league on fire because he's related to Christian McCaffrey, don't be surprised. That's all I'm going to say.
Do not be surprised. Is there any other receivers you really want to touch on, or does it be about time to move to running backs?
I know this guy's a meme just because his name is Olamide Zaccheaus, but Olamide Zaccheaus is someone that I think can go out there. He could do a job for you. He can do a little bit. He can, you know, he kind of has a well-rounded skill set. You know, he'll haul balls in, no diddy, you know, chuck it up. He'll come down with it. He does a good job with that, right? And he's also a pretty good separator, too. He's someone that can make plays after the catch. Just overall, well-rounded player in my mind. And then you also got De'Ami Brown, who, big play threat, has the speed, gonna extend the field. If anything, maybe he's more of a decoy, but still, that could open up stuff for Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin. I actually am a fan of the depth here. I just wish there was a little bit more of a standout somewhere on that bench.
Okay, right. And now we can move to the running backs. And it's a room that's, I think, the definition of solid, what I would say. Brian Robinson, who's probably, Austin Eckler's listed as the RB1 in the depth chart. Brian Robinson's going to get a majority of the carries, I would say.
The only thing that makes me think maybe otherwise, Eckler's getting paid a lot.
Right.
And maybe because of that, they feel like it's required for them to make Eckler the one, but that'll really hurt the team.
That would very much hurt the team. But Brian Robinson, if he is the one, you know, just again, solid's the word for it. He's nothing spectacular, but good between the tackle runner. He's actually decent in the receiving game as well. But you have him to be the downhill runner that you want on this team. And then there's Austin Eckler, who, if he does play more of a 2 role, could be effective as that scat back, as that receiver third down back, which that would be more ideal. Now, if he's looking at, you know, being the 1, then you're looking at an entirely different story because Austin Eckler's washed. As he's never been a pure runner, really. Like, anybody who thinks otherwise, I disagree with you. But, like, especially now, we all saw that play against the Packers. Dude, that's a touchdown for 90% of running backs in the league.
Not just that. The game against the Jaguars, Chargers fan, plug your ears. I know you don't want to think about this, but when they choked against the Jaguars, why do you think they didn't run the ball when they had a huge lead? Because Austin Eckler can't run between the tackles. He wasn't able to then, even less capable now.
I don't think he's ever. It might have changed this season. I don't know. I don't think he ever carried the ball more than 20 times in a game. I know there wasn't the case during that Jaguars game. Like, he had never carried a ball more than 20 times up to that point in a game.
He was not. He still isn't a great runner. And even now, okay, cool. Throw him a swing pass, get him the ball in space. He's not doing much in that scenario either. He's a reliable receiving option. But he's not an after-the-catch option.
Nope.
He really isn't dynamic after the catch at all. You know, I really question, do you think Eckler's even an upgrade over Antonio Gibson right now?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Well,
and that's bad. That's like a good question because they're
to
paying
the
him a lot.
Commanders, I'll say this: to the Commanders coaching staff, they'd say yes because they never used Antonio Gibson. But um, that's a good question. I think Eckler's probably got more is more probably more reliable at this point, but as
It's
an
that.
explosive
It's
player,
that and like finding weak spot in zone. He'll do.
yes.
But like, how
But
often is a running back doing that?
but as an explosive player, probably I'd go
Not
Gibson for
probably.
sure.
Definitely
Actually, yeah,
Gibson in that
definitely go
sense.
Gibson. Um, yeah, no, I'm not a big Austin Eckler guy. It's at all.
Mm-hmm. And he can't really
The
block well
the
either.
narratives the narratives that Herbert had superior weapons. You have tarnished them, Austin Eckler.
Yeah, but I mean, Chris Rodriguez is RB3. I like it as a depth piece.
I do
Listen,
too.
Eckler will have his role. Brian Robinson's the lead back. Just that simple. Third down, put in Eckler. Okay, fine. Don't have him catch passes behind the line of scrimmage though, because I question whether or not he'll make it back. Uh, but yeah, that I think Washington's running back core is one I like a decent amount.
Absolutely, especially if it's used the correct way. There's a
Yeah.
world where it's not, and it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's really bad.
Sure. Yeah.
But I expect them. I can't imagine a coaching staff looking at tape last year and being like, yeah, we're going to give the majority of these carries to Austin Eckler over Brian Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
now we can move to the tight ends, and this is a really interesting group because on one hand you've got another old soul, Zach Ertz. You got a rookie in Ben Sinnott. And then you got John Bates, who is actually a pretty good tight end 3 if you're looking at it. And one more I actually want to say real quick. Armani Rogers, this is a guy that kind of took a couple years back. Very much so a project pick that I've heard Commanders fans kind of be hyped about throughout the years. And then last year, it was supposed to be like, this guy's going to be our guy. And then he got hurt in training camp. So I wonder if he's going to make the team and make the roster because this is a guy they've kind of put a lot of time and development into. But let's focus on the top 3 guys, starting with Zach Ertz. What do you have to say about it?
So, Ertz, listen, I know it's Zach Ertz. He's not on Philly anymore. He's kind of washed. But what he offers, first off, understanding of Kingsbury's scheme, which say what you want about how important that is, but no matter what, if you are on a team and you're familiar with the scheme, you're in a good spot. Like that's objectively important, especially when you're a veteran. Someone that will still settle in the weak spot of zones. He's someone that, in man-to-man coverage, I don't know. I don't know how much he's doing. I don't. But that's why you have Jahan. That's why you have McLaurin. Okay? But then when you're facing zone and you just need a reliable guy to dump it off to, that's what Ertz is going to do, and he's going to be fine with that. He really is. Now, I don't think he's going to be a world beater, but I do think he's going to offer Jaden Daniels a little bit of comfort here. I think he's just a reliable, safe blanket. Also, fine blocker. And then the thing that really makes me optimistic, Ben Sinnott. He's someone who's really versatile. I liked him as like a use check, which is why I'm pissed.
Fullback almost kind of role.
Yeah, but he's not going to be a fullback in a Kingsbury team. Kingsbury doesn't
Never.
use a fullback, so that's really annoying. But Sinnott, I like him as a jumbo slot. I like him as an inline guy. He can do it all. He's a versatile weapon. He's someone that will make plays after the catch, will get open as a route runner. Like, he does a lot of different stuff that you want. He's a really well-rounded player that can kind of just do it all. I really like him, and I think after the catch he's going to be a hell of a playmaker for them. But we'll see. Also a good blocker. Those are the 2 guys that really stand out to me. But you said Bates is someone that you really want to talk about, so feel free to lay it on me.
Maybe not really want to talk about, but he's like a good, like ideal tight end 3. A guy come in and block when he needs to. He's got to I just want to point out that he's there, and
he's going to be like their Max Williams.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Exactly.
There you go.
And I do want to say one more thing. I have this has nothing to do with analysis. I have a Cardinals franchise on Madden, and John Bates cooked me for 187 yards last night. So the possible breakout player for this team, I would say. But
if he went off in Madden, he must be.
Clearly, right below who you're related to, how good you are in Madden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Very important to the evaluation process, truly.
But now we move to maybe the worst. No, definitely, I think the worst, and I think you think it's the worst too. The worst offensive line group in the league.
It is.
It's really bad. It's awful.
It's so
This
bad.
Commander's offensive line is dreadful. Now, before we get into the bad, I'd like to talk about the good. I just did a film review on the guy on TikTok if you want to go see it. Sam Cosmi, right guard. Really good right guard. I think he's awesome. He was like kind of had a rough start to the season, but by the end was just phenomenal. You've got a franchise player to build around on that line. I'd even maybe consider it moving him to a tackle spot, like because he played tackle in college. If you wanted to try him out there again, but that's where the good ends. That's where the good ends.
Yeah, I mean, I could get slightly more optimistic of the bad. Nick Allegretti, he's someone who, I mean, he was good in the playoffs last year when he came in.
He was.
We don't know if he could do that consistently, but there's a chance. I like Tyler Biadasz. He's someone who's been solid.
Painful. I think he's painfully average, but yeah.
Painfully,
I mean, better than
painfully
awful.
average is good for this line. Let's be honest here.
Yeah,
he's a solid center. You know, he'll never wow you, but painfully average is something you'll take. And then you have the worst tackle duo in football.
Oh, by a lot, by like a pretty significant margin.
It's really bad. Brandon Coleman. They missed the tackles. They missed all the good tackles. They took the first bad one off the board.
Yeah, I really want to touch on Brandon Coleman real quick. I said this when they drafted him because I did watch Brandon Coleman. Where they took him, value-wise, maybe the worst pick in the whole draft. Like it's a bad pick. Brandon Coleman sucks. Like there's not a lot of there is some athletic upside maybe, and he played in an air raid style system at TCU. But that's where it ends. Like the tape is bad, the technique is bad. He's not a good run blocker. He's a bad passer. Like he's a bad player. And you took him with a fourth round pick, or was he a third round pick? He was a third round pick.
Third rounder.
My God.
Early third rounder. Keep in mind, Washington had early picks.
Objectively terrible pick. But I digress. We'll talk about the starting tackle. God, if Brandon Coleman's starting for you, that's really bad.
It's him and then Andrew Wiley.
Cornelius Lucas probably starts at left. I would assume
every depth chart I've seen has Brandon Coleman as the starter.
If Brandon Coleman is starting, oh my God, that's even worse. I was calling it the worst tackle duo with Cornelius
Lucas. A team like this
Lucas.
takes someone in round 3 with this many holes. I expect them to start, no?
But Cornelius Lucas is better than Brandon Coleman right now. By like a lot. Cornelius Lucas is bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. He's really bad.
He's also really bad, but he's way better than Brandon Coleman is right now. Either way, Cornelius Lucas, Brandon Coleman at left tackle, you're not feeling good at all. So
it makes Andrew Wiley seem good, and he sucks.
Andrew Wiley's bad, dude. This is such a bad team. Well, not team. Such a bad tackle duo. Oh, my gosh. Is there a whole lot else to talk about? Like we just mentioned, like these are not good players.
I mean, again, if Allegretti is who he was in playoffs, their interior could be good. There's a world where their interior is good. No?
No, there's a world because Sam Cosmi's there and Biadasz is average and Allegretti could be okay. Like there's a world where that interior is good. How much does the interior offensive line matter in a Cliff Kingsbury scheme?
I mean, if you're not running the ball,
do they have Braden Daniels on this team? Oh my God! Like this is they have Chris Paul on this team, dude.
CP3,
CP3,
let's go,
man. Oh my gosh, that's that Bob Myers influence.
All right, what's your offensive superlatives here?
Okay, offensive rookie of the year. I'm actually going to go Ben Sinnott.
Wow, we have the same pick.
Yes, I think he's going to be. I think there's a pretty good shot. He's the team's #1 tight end. A couple weeks in, he just has got more juice than it says right now.
Even if he's not, like, despite it being an air raid scheme, that they're going to run a decent amount of 12.
Yeah,
Well, you'll see
absolutely.
both of them on the field. Uh, Offensive Player of the Year, because we put the same guy for Offensive Rookie.
And we put the same guy for us as a player, I'm sure. Terry McLaurin is
Yeah.
the obvious pick there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's the best. Probably, he might be the best player on this team. So, I mean,
Uh,
debatably, there's other options, especially on the defensive front. But
mhm. Yeah,
he's
I wouldn't
he's
say he's the best
definitely the
player.
best player on
He's
offense.
well, him or Cosme. Him or Cosme.
Yeah, him or Cosme. Him or Cosme. It kind of depends what you. But like Terry McLaurin's
He's
the
the
guy.
best ball
I,
carrier.
ex- I expect him to have a good season because
Well,
I
yeah,
expect Jane Daniels to have better QB play than Sam Howell did.
listen,
So
when Jaden Daniels isn't getting sacked, really good things are going to happen, I think. I truly do feel that way. The only thing is, I don't know how often. Like, I really think Jaden Daniels is going to get sacked a lot. The same way Sam Howell got sacked a lot last year. I think it's going to be a really similar type of thing. Because pressure to sack rate, Jaden Daniels was insanely high. When he got pressured, he got sacked. And that's going to be a problem this year, too.
absolutely.
That's the
And
reality, which sucks, but
and now we can move to the defense. And there's defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. But kind of the case we did this whole spiel in the last Patriots number 32 video. Dan Quinn's calling this defense. That's how it's going to be. And Dan Quinn runs a multitude of different things, very different from that cover 3 style we saw in Atlanta, coming from the Pete Carroll system. But now he runs a multitude. He runs man. He'll run. Like, he's awesome.
the one thing that's remained consistent, single high. Single
Yeah.
high. You won't see him come out in a too high shell. Not cover 2, not Tampa 2. He's running cover 1 or cover 3. Like, that's pretty much it. Maybe you'll see like a zero blitz cover 0, like occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it is cover 3, cover 1. Like, that is what this defense is. At least in terms of like coverage wise. The defense isn't anything revolutionary anymore, but the blitz packages can be really crazy at times, which is really nice. It gets the job done. I mean, these Gus Bradley disciples, they're no longer like, oh, they're so ambitious, but they get it done, man. They just do.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Yeah.
And Dan Quinn's one of them. I mean, listen, you have guys that are going to be able to spot drop, be able to play match zone. You have guys that are going to be able to play straight up man-to-man. Like, it's a simple formula. It works. It's just that simple. And, Bobby Wagner is familiar with Dan Quinn. There are some guys here that are familiar with Dan Quinn on this defense. I don't know how much of an impact Joe Witt's going to have. I think the majority of the craziness we're going to see from this defense are, oh, man, why is this player lined up on the edge? Why is this player looping? He's too big to be a looper. All that stuff. Like, we're going to see some crazy stuff up front. But really, on the back end, it's just going to be the same type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. And now we can move to this defensive line, because maybe not as great as it once was when you had Montez Sweat and Chase Young on opposite edges, but specifically the interior is awesome, man. Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. 2 fantastic defensive tackles. What do you have to say about those 2?
Oh, my God. Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, big dudes. They're able to disengage, and they're able to make tackles on the line of scrimmage. They're able to make tackles behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, they don't get moved either. They are huge. They play strong. They have moves in their bag. They're both very similar. It's not like one is the speed guy and one's the tough, eat up blockers guy. Both of them do both, right?
And I will say I think Allen's probably the better pass rusher, but
sure, that's true. But I don't think that's like a stylistic thing. I think that might just be Allen being a little bit better in that area, and then Deron Payne being a little bit better in the run stuffing area. But both of them are very good at both. It's not like you're like, oh yeah, let's double team Payne so this way, Allen, he's a little bit of a problem, but we got to focus on Payne first. Like, you double team one, the other guy has to be single team, and it's not working.
No.
I mean, maybe you just double team both because these edge rushers are terrible. But
yeah,
it's there are problems on the interior, and then they're deep too. They're deep too. They
And
drafted
they have
Jason Newton,
who just steal where he went. I could not believe he didn't go in the first round.
He's coming off injury. I mean,
I get it, but I thought film-wise, maybe the best. Well, I thought Cooper DeJean was the best defender in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Newton might have been the best defensive lineman in this draft. Like he,
Mm-hmm.
film-wise, was just crazy good.
You like him a lot more than I do. I like the handiwork, great. But for me, I look at interior defensive linemen. I want you to be able to hold down double team and
Now I do have a thought regarding Newton. I've thought this for a while because there were plays where he played edge. Yes, he played edge at Illinois. I would not be surprised at all if they had him line up at edge for some majority because this edge group is bad.
It's
like Jason Newton to play edge.
Awful. The edge group is awful. But I don't know. My thing is like you're running outside zone towards him. It's easy to beat him to the corner. It is. Like I get it. He's fast, but is he that fast? I don't know.
Well, my whole thing is like he's gonna give you a better shot than Armstrong and Cleveland Farrell.
That's
right.
Fair.
Like you gotta. But Fedarian Mathis, a guy they took last year, not like super impressive, but he's a good depth piece on this defense for sure.
They drafted him round 2. He better be a good depth piece like that. They have 4 top 50 picks on their interior defensive line, and their edge rushers are Cleveland Farrell, Dante Fowler, and Dorrance Armstrong.
Yeah, it's bad.
How do you build a team that way? That's really.
To be fair, we can't blame Dan Quinn too much for that. He walked into that one.
That's but after losing Chase Young and Montez Sweat, you're supposed to address your needs. You're not just supposed to open up a need and then just ignore them.
But I also get it. Like the caliber of player that at least I thought Jason Newton was. It's even if I'm not taking an edge over Newton.
I would have. I definitely would have.
What about the edges that were there?
The edges that were there?
Chop was gone.
I know Chop was gone. I wouldn't have.
Darius Robinson was gone.
I would have taken Chris Braswell. Not even because I think he's better than Jerzon, obviously. More because, first off, I don't love Jerzon quite as much as you do. I think he's a good player. Like I think he's like a borderline first rounder. I don't even think he fell that much further than he should have, personally. Like I think he's good. I really like his handiwork, like I said, but I mean, he's not this perfect can't miss prospect.
No, of course,
Very far from it. Meanwhile, Braswell addresses a need. I think Braswell is a really safe player. Now, is he a great scheme fit? Maybe not, but I just said the first edge that came to my mind that I knew was there.
Right, of course.
There's definitely some guy that was there that would have been a good scheme fit.
Let's talk about this edge group. We've touched on it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like Cleveland Farrell, we all know the meme. Fourth overall pick, Cleveland Farrell by the Raiders. Maybe one of the worst picks ever. But Dorrance Armstrong was a fine rotational piece on the Cowboys.
Now the fact that his own former defensive coordinator, now the head coach of the Commanders, is saying, okay, let's bring him in and give him a full-time role, I think that shows a lot of confidence in him. I would give him the mark of question mark. Maybe he is this good player. I don't know. We have no idea.
And then there's Dante Fowler, who not good. At least I don't think so.
2024. What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing? And that's kind of where it ends. Now, I expect Luvu to come off the edge a little bit, but we can touch on him more when we get to those linebackers, and we can just get to it.
You could do some interesting. You know what? I never even thought about that. I knew Luvu was a good blitzer, and of course I've been aware of that. I was thinking more of him blitzing up the middle. I guess him as like an edge. Yeah. Him as an edge, and then you have Wagner and
Jamin Davis, Jamin Davis.
Yeah, that could okay. Yeah, sure, I could see it. I can see them doing that. In fact, I feel like if it's Dorrance Armstrong and Luvu as the two edges, they're fine.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than Cleveland Farrell. I'll tell you that.
For sure.
But now let's get to those linebackers and touch on Frankie Luvu. Mm-hmm. Frankie Luvu was somebody that, like, film buffs, I want to say, 2 years ago. Oh, my God. 2 years ago, it was like, this is the most underrated player in football. And it still stands to this day. He's a fantastic, fantastic player, as you said. He does a little bit of everything. Good in coverage, great like run defender. He can play the edge. They can blitz him. They can do a whole lot of things with him. And I'm excited to see how Dan Quinn utilizes that. And as I said, he could play a lot of edge for this team because this edge group is bad.
Who else could you make that same description about? From a Dan Quinn defense, as of recent years, who else fits that do-it-all linebacker, sometimes even edge rusher description?
Mr. Parsons himself.
Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if, like you just said, the same way that Parsons went from off-ball linebacker to just straight-up edge, I wouldn't be surprised if they do something similar with Louvu. And then occasionally have him spot drop. I could believe it.
I think that'd be a good fit too. Like again, Luvu's just really good at that. Panthers line him up as a edge rusher on like passing situations a good amount. Like he did that quite often. But we'll talk about the other linebackers. Bobby Wagner. Again, he's not what he once was by any stretch, but he's a good run defender at this point in his career. He really is. He's just such a smart player. And yes, he's not as athletic as he once was. Not what he once was in coverage. But he's still Bobby Wagner. He still has that mind. He has a good feel for where he needs to be. It's really just a matter of can he keep up athletically or is he,
And he'll be subbing in when they go into base, right?
Yes.
For the most part, I think he's going to be on the bench, kind of, Jamin Davis, I couldn't help but notice from where I was standing that you did this wrong, you didn't recognize this. He'll kind of be like an extra coach, I feel like.
Yeah.
And he's someone familiar with the Dan Quinn scheme. Again, he played with Gus Bradley. Dan Quinn coached under Gus Bradley. Like, the two are familiar with each other. I think that Jamin Davis is going to really be their next linebacker. I think it's going to be Louvu and Davis. The only thing is if Louvu switches to edge, then that's when Wagner's on the field more, and he could be exploited in coverage.
Well, that's kind of my take there. I think Jamin Davis is this team's one. 100%. I thought he has got. So Jamin Davis was a draft crush of mine when he was coming out. He was my top linebacker.
Loved him.
He ended up going in the first round. Just an athletic freak, man. Like freak of a linebacker. Big, strong, fast. And we're now heading into fourth year? I want to say
third.
Right? Third, fourth.
I thought third.
Let me look. I can look right here.
I'm pretty sure.
I want to say he's 25 now. I don't know. I think it might be his fourth.
I'll look into it. Keep going.
Yeah. Anyway, he's going into now his third, fourth year, and he's just gotten better as the years have gone along.
Oh, this is his fourth.
Fourth year, yeah. So we're entering year 4. He's 25 years old. He's gotten better and better as the years have gone along. Last year, especially going towards the end, really high-level play from him. And I fully expect him to take the leap. I think he's going to be commanding this defense. And I think he's going to be one of the better linebackers in football next year. Like, I have a huge, huge, huge upside for Mr. Jamin Davis. I don't know what you think about him as a player.
Well, I was really high on him coming out of the draft, too. I remember his rookie year. I picked him to win defensive rookie year, and that was very far from happening. But, yeah, no, he's someone I look at. I think he goes sideline to sideline. It's just a question of whether or not he makes the tackle, makes the right read. Again, it seems like he's lacking some of that, but for the most part, he has the physical ability that you're looking for. And that's
as you're saying, having Bobby Wagner there should help. Like, exactly. He has one of the better linebackers we've ever seen, helping him out mentally. I think that's a big boon for him to have him in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to these other linebackers, there's one guy I want to mention, one of their draft picks, Jordan McGee. He's a strict project. He can't step in and play football right now for any team, but really athletic linebacker, just got to keep an eye on going forward. And now we make it to this secondary. And I have a lot of worries about the secondary, and I know you do too. Starting with those cornerbacks, it's an interesting group. The projected starters, in my eyes, are probably Benjamin St-Juste, Michael Davis, and Mike Sainer still in the slot. That's what I think is going to end up being the case. Now, I like St-Juste. I like him as a slot corner, though. I don't think he can hold up outside. That's very well. And I'd feel much better about him if he was playing slot, but that's what Mike Sainristil is going to
What
play.
what
Mike
what
Sainristil,
makes you so optimistic about St. Just even as a slot?
I think he shows good things as a slot. I think he's much better as a slot than like I'm not saying he's a good like great slot corner, but he looked way better in the slot than he did outside, which he had to play a lot of last year.
Yeah, I don't know, man. For me, any corner that allows 800 yards on a season,
Oh,
I
absolutely.
can't.
Absolutely, and that's because he had to play for Forbes on the outside.
Like,
Yeah, like,
yeah, I
he's
guess,
not
but
an
I think
outside corner.
the way I look at it, slot's even tougher. No?
I agree, but his film from the slot is just objectively better. He's a good tackler. He's good getting
I
hands
agree.
on.
He is a good tackler. I
Like
100% agree there.
he's just better from the slot. He's just not going to play slot with rookie out of Michigan,
Yeah.
Mike Sainristil.
And he is 100% going to play the slot. The only thing there, though, with Sanders, he is someone that shows the ambition, shows the willingness to tackle 100%. Like, great at it. But, it's just a question, is he too small? I know he wasn't too small in college. In the NFL, I think there's a chance he kind of just gets bullied. As much as he wants to go ahead and make the tackles, I think he might just get mauled. You know, that's kind of where I am.
There's a shot, but like he's also like decently compact for his size.
Yeah.
Like there's a world where like he's just because he does have really good technique when it comes to shedding off blockers and getting to tackle.
Exactly.
I think he's gonna be fine. I'm a little more concerned about his coverage, a bit like how he's gonna be in coverage. But like I love the pick of Sainristil. I think it's a good culture fit for sure. Coming from Michigan, he was the leader of that, like just like vocal leader of that defense. I think he'll be fine. But again, kind of taking St. Juste's spot there, and St. Just being on the outside does not move me, and Michael Davis being on the other outside corner doesn't move me. Now, I've mentioned Forbes. I don't believe in Manuel Forbes. I think I said it as he was coming out. I wouldn't have touched him anywhere near the first round. Like he looked small on film. He tested small. I thought his tests for how small he was were a bit unimpressive. The film was when he was coming out, like took a lot of risks. Yes.
He was a ball hawk. That's what he was there to do. 100%.
That's what he was there to do. But and maybe, who knows? We've seen ball hawks work to a degree in this Dan Quinn system with Trevon Diggs, with Deron Bland last year.
And that's why I'm I'm going to be honest, cautiously optimistic for Forbes.
Right. That's a fine thing to have. Absolutely. I think there's totally a world where he can get some picks. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be much more of that. It'd be much more of that Trevon Diggs season where, he had a bunch of picks, but also
he got beat
so many yards.
Yeah, but I think that's the risky run, right? Overall, tell me this. Overall, would you say that he had a generally successful season, Trevon Diggs, that year? Maybe not this elite corner some people praise him as.
Yes, absolutely.
But
you can't get 11 picks and not have
exactly. So that's where I'm kind of standing right now, where I'm like, okay, yeah. I don't think he'll be great, but I can see him ending the season with like 8 picks. Like I can, because the speed he has, and it's more of, I guess it's the speed and instinct mix that he has in a, cover 1, cover 3 heavy scheme. That creates some opportunities to get some picks, especially for someone like him. Like, I am looking forward to seeing what Forbes looks like this year, and if he doesn't look great, well, I mean, come on. Do we really want to trot out St. Just again? Like,
yeah.
Maybe Just is a better player. Sure, maybe. But they're both very bad. At least with Forbes, you have the upside.
Right. It's just so worrying, man. Like, I don't know if you saw that photo of Forbes standing next to that high schooler, but, like, he's a small dude, man.
Yeah, no, I know.
And it's hard to play football at that size, man. In the NFL, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but there's also a role for those guys, dude.
Yeah. Here's another, like, someone I want to mention, because he's been following Dan Quinn around ever since he got traded last year. Dolphins legend Noah Igbenogany, the worst first round pick I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, man. Wow.
People forget he was
like
a first round pick.
Dream. Yeah, it feels like a fever dream when he went in round 1, man. Well, it's because at that time they already had Xavier Howard. They had Byron Murphy. People thought Byron Murphy would be way better on the Dolphins at the time. And they went ahead and drafted him. It was just like, what the heck?
Jonathan Taylor's on the board. I mean, oh my
and
God.
I get, nickels are important, but really?
You want to know the thing? He never played nickel for us. Ever. Exactly. He played boundary corner at all times.
Yeah.
And, but I could, I'll just say this. I don't think he's a good player. I'm just saying there's a world where St. Just and Emmanuel Forbes are just bad. And Igbenogany just plays. And Igbenogany's put together decent. It's never been it has been a technique. He physically yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. There's so many Dolphins games where he's in good position to make a play. For one, awful when the ball's in the air. Terrible. Really bad. Terrible when the ball's in the air. And two, he just physically cannot, he's getting mossed. He's getting this and that. It's just what it is. Highlight of his career is picking off Kenny Pickett to win the game. In the Tua disaster class versus the Steelers, okay? Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to mention him because there's a world where he gets some play time because this cornerback room sucks.
Michael Davis. Is the name Michael Davis something that maybe gives you a little bit of maybe?
He's objectively the best corner on this team. Straight up.
Well, Michael Davis 2 years, not last season before that.
I know what you're talking about.
He was good, but last season he sucked.
Yes, and so I think that says a lot. But Michael, that whole
and it's also he's like a press man. Sure, but he's also like a press man corner. This isn't really going to be a press man type team. I don't. What about the fit? It's not a great fit either. So
and that's kind of where I think we see Dan Quinn move some stuff around because you look at the projected starters of this defense and you're kind of oh, these guys are better. Sainer still manned up on a guy, Davis manned up on a guy, St. Just being able to play press man with his length on a guy. I think we'll see a little bit more of it. Because, if we're just running, for one, St. Just isn't good in a zone cover 3 scheme. Davis isn't either. You're looking at Forbes, and that's kind of it. Igbenogany is bad in zone. These are objectively better press man corners. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to see a little bit more. This is more of a projection. But, I can't imagine we don't see more of that considering the personnel that is on the secondary.
Yeah, well... Yeah, but I find it very difficult to believe. I can't see Quinn running it too high. I can't. Maybe he runs cover 1.
That's more what I'm thinking. Man. More of a cover 1 press man type of system.
That's really risky. You have to have a lot of faith in your corners to do that. I don't think he should have.
And totally. This is also just be what he standard runs, and it's not going to be a very good group. You know what I mean?
That's kind of what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
But that secondary is weak at corner. Safety, though, I'm a little bit...
Definitely.
I'm a little bit better because at least there's one person that I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm hyped to see him. That's Jeremy Chin, of course.
Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin is awesome. Jeremy Chin, kind of that, from our last episode, kind of that Kyle Duggar sort of player. Want to have him in the box.
We saw last year... Forgot exactly the name. Cowboys, number 11, I want to say it was. They had a safety that they would always line up in the box. Now the name's escaping me.
Yeah, hold on. I'll bring it up.
The name's escaping me, but I remember, especially the Bills game, he got abused, man. But he was constantly there. That's why they ran so much nickel and dime last year. Because
are you talking about Damone Clark?
Was it Clark?
18.
I don't think. No. It was number 11. I'm so.
11's Micah Parsons.
Not 11. You're very right. It's definitely not 11.
Well, Marquise Bell.
Marquise Bell. Thank you. What number was it? It was
14.
14. Thank you. Yeah, Micah Parsons. Wow. But yeah, no. he was always in the box for whatever reason. He could not engage on a block and hold his ground whatsoever.
No.
But they still always kept him there. Jeremy Chin can hold his ground. Absolutely. So now we're going to see them do probably a similar thing, and this time it's actually going to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel pretty good about that. You know, you have Percy Butler up high, which is what it is.
I'd be surprised if Derek Forrest isn't getting more reps up high than he is.
Okay, yeah, fair point. And
I think Derek Forrest is
much better.
Yeah,
you're definitely right. Okay, ESPN has Percy Butler on top of it.
Yeah, I highly disagree with that.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, yeah, Derek Forrest is
and I liked both of the guys that came out of Tyler Owens out of Texas Tech. I liked him as a rookie safety.
Tyler Owens
that's someone they brought in as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the other guy, Taylor Demerson, was the better safety of the two. Yeah. But Tyler Owens is a capable guy, and I'm excited to see what Dan Quinn can do with him.
Yeah. No, that safety room is pretty strong. Well, I really am shocked they have Percy Butler. That he should be like the fourth. Whatever. They should be good in terms of like safety up high and then strong safety down low as like a box guy. They should be good in that area. Like, yes. I think Jeremy Chin can definitely play the Marquise Bell role, and I absolutely think that Derek Forrest could stay up high and do a good job in coverage. I 100% agree. Again, the thing is just the corners suck.
The thing is the corners stink, and I think corners are pretty important in Dan Quinn's defense. Yeah. So we're gonna have to kind of wait and see that. Mm-hmm. And like, what do you think? I think it's really interesting to ask. Like, what do you think the floor and ceiling of this defense is? Like, does this defense have a chance to be like a top unit, considering the high end talent they have?
No. Secondary's too bad. They could be like borderline top 10 maybe at best, but I can't give them more than that.
And something I do want to bring up is I fully expect one of Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen to be traded at some point this season. I think it's a pretty good shot that's happening.
I mean, they better.
Yes,
they might trade
good
players
both.
On the D-line. Yeah, exactly. There's too many like good interior defensive linemen. They're trying to make sure they're trying to have a monopoly on interior defensive linemen. I think that's their strategy.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's bad, but defensive superlatives. What are we thinking? We didn't do biggest X factor or 12th man of the year on offense. Are both of those on your defense?
My X factor on this defense, I chose Jamin Davis. I think he has a chance to be an elite linebacker, like top level linebacker. And if he is, it's a big boon for this defense. Who's your X factor?
My X factor I had is Emmanuel Forbes.
And that's an interesting one. Yeah,
because like I said, I think if they have Emmanuel Forbes have like a Trayvon Diggs 12 pick, maybe not 12, but like 8 pick, 9 pick season, they're in a really good spot. Because, okay, yeah, he might still allow a lot of yardage. I'm kind of expecting that. But if he's able to create turnovers, that kind of makes it so teams are worried to pass on them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think they just need to scare teams away from passing on them. That's all. And I think Emmanuel Forbes playing well does that for them. But, yeah, that's just my X factor. What about your 12th man of the year?
My 12th man. Oh, we didn't do a defensive player of the year.
I know. I'm just going to go back. Whatever.
Okay. Let's see. My 12th man of the year. My pick's actually going to be the rookie Tyler Owens. I could see him coming in a lot on this defense. I think.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. But I also look at it. I look at it in a weird way, right? Where we're in a situation where I'm surprised you didn't pick John Newton, by the way. But I think we're in a really weird spot.
Yeah, I might pick Newton too, but my idea is kind of like I do fully expect to be at least for Deron Payne or Jonathan Allen to be traded at that point. Can we call it a 12th man if he's going to be a full-time starter?
Sure. If you think that if he doesn't play in the top 11 how do I word this? If you are not top 11 on your side of the ball on your team in snap percentage, you're a 12th man in my mind.
Okay.
Well, tell me this. Their main package, we're in agreement, it's going to be nickel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So in that case, I kind of want to go ahead and say Bobby Wagner as 12th man of the year.
Oh, I might actually. That's a really good point. I actually want to change it to Bobby Wagner too. I'm going to change it. That's a really good point. Yeah. He's going to come in on those base packages, but they're going to be nickel a lot.
Yeah, and so, he's going to be a good run defender for them, and I think he's going to contribute a lot as like a locker room, making Jamin Davis a better player type of person. But I also
that's
really
a
want to
fantastic
entertain
pick.
the idea of Jason Newton as 12th man.
Yeah,
I definitely do. But now we go on to the main defensive superlatives. Defensive player of the year, who do you got?
I got Jonathan Allen.
Yeah, we're in agreement. I mean, I could pick Deron Payne just to be a contrarian, but
yeah,
I think
both do very similar things.
I think Jonathan Allen is a slightly better player, marginally.
Yes, I completely agree,
but slightly. Yeah.
It's a defensive rookie for me is going to be Johnny Newton.
So I'm glad I didn't say Jason Newton because now we're kind of giving more awards out to more names. I'm happy with that. I'm giving mine to Sainer still.
That's fine. That's a perfect. I don't know if I've said this before. I think nickel is maybe the most important position on defense. I think maybe not on defense. I think it's definitely the most important corner position in a lot of defenses.
If you run a nickel all the time, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah. And we expect this to mainly be a nickel team, so yeah.
Yep. So I think that's a fine pick. I think Johnny Newton's going to do it, especially because once Payne and Al, one of the two, or maybe both of them are gone, Newton's going to be getting a lot of snaps, and I think he's going to put together a pretty damn good season for these guys. But Sanders still also going to be a vocal leader. He's going to get a lot of snaps too.
Absolutely. And now we move over to the fun part where we just throw shit at the wall for a
special
solid
teams.
Yeah, special teams. Tell me. Let's start with return man. Who do you think is going to be getting kickoff returns, punt returns? And do we expect to see much creativity in terms of blocking or whatever, or what?
Yeah, 100%. I'd be surprised if Jahan Dotson isn't getting a lot of these returns. He's just so dynamic with the ball in his hands. I think he's very, very dynamic with the ball in his hands. And something I can't wait to see, I think Ben Sinnott is going to be maybe not used as a returner, but as a blocker.
Yeah, I can absolutely.
God, he's going to be awesome.
He's a great athlete, but I also think your boy Jamin Davis could be seen doing a little.
Oh, absolutely. No, there's a lot of players that can be used.
They have some athletic big man for sure. Mm-hmm. Even Frankie Louvu is another guy.
Frankie Louvu
go out there and do it.
Jeremy Chin could go do it.
Even Ertz, I think, even though he's a little bit older, I think he could go out, be a contributor in that way. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fair. I was thinking Jamison Crowder.
I think that's totally fine. I just think Jahan Dotson's more dynamic with the ball in his hands, straight up. He's awesome.
We talked about Forbes a little bit. Maybe him.
I just don't think he's big enough to take those hits. Do you want to put him? Do you want to put him out there to get slammed by somebody at 160? You know what I mean?
That's fair. But that's
the thing. He's fast enough.
But hold on.
He's fast
Here's
enough.
the thing too. Now with these new rules, you're more willing to put out a little bit of a thinner guy.
Right.
Because these new rules prevent the 50-yard run and then it's no longer that. It's a lot less room for people to get momentum. He's going to have a lot of blockers in front of him. I don't know. I'm willing to at least entertain that idea.
Right. No, I think that's fine. I think it's a fine idea to entertain. I just imagine in a coach's mind of
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We don't want him taking hits.
Yeah. Now maybe if he gets benched and him at corner isn't working at all, then maybe you do that. Maybe. But Jamison Crowder, I'm thinking that's my move. Him, Dynamic Brown could be a contributor. I think absolutely. Also, Dax Milne.
Thank you,
Milne. He could. I know he right now is listed as their punt returner. We'll see. He doesn't really excite me quite like other people, but
The site I'm looking at has their punt returners as Jahan Dotson and Jamison Crowder.
oh really? Oh well,
Yes.
again, I'm using ESPN, so we might have to mutually agree on a
Yeah.
universal depth chart after this.
Yes.
But
Yeah, absolutely. I think this could be a fun team on special teams, especially
on
with
return.
Sanat and the
And
players
then-
that you can return.
if we're talking about their special teams, we gotta talk about the punter. The
Tressway.
punter, yeah, he
Tressway.
might be their best player. Like on the entire team, he might be. He is a
He's
really good
damn
punter.
good.
Really good. He is the best punter in the league, I'd say. Tressway,
Oh,
spectacular. Yeah, exactly. So we're in agreement.
Yeah, at
Him
this
or-
point.
Yeah, he it's probably him. He is a really good player. I mean, consistently nuking it. It's wild. Ramiz Ahmed is marked as their kicker right now. Not familiar.
Big unknown. Yeah, not
Complete
not familiar
unknown.
with them.
Can't say much. But I love the punter. So, you know what?
Yes.
I give them their credit. I don't really love that. I love, like, the blockers for their return unit. There's not any returners that I'm really in love with for them, though. Like, I don't
No.
see a guy that could be like a Cordero Patterson. I don't.
No, absolutely not.
But I do, again, Sanat as a blocker, love it. Jamin Davis as a blocker, love it. Luvu as a blocker, love it. But then maybe they don't want to have that many starters out there, right? Maybe they,
Right.
dabble a little bit into some of those depth guys. I think Sanat will probably carve out a role as a
Jordan McGee could
Jordan
do it, the
McGee,
young
yeah.
rookie.
Sure, that's
He's
very fair.
6'3", 230.
Yeah.
He can go out there and block somebody who's
Yeah.
athletic.
That's very fair. That I could absolutely see. And then even like, you want to talk about gunners like on the punt team. I think like Michael Davis, him,
Dude, Mike Sainristil would be
Sainristil,
awesome.
absolutely. I think he might be like he has a chance to be like the next Matthew Slater. As long as he's not good on defense, he could be.
And like Igbenogany was used on special teams for the Cowboys, so
Yeah.
I expect him to be used on special teams here. Like it's a good unit.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. But now let's go ahead and wrap it up with our predictions, floor, ceiling, and just overall prediction in terms of their record. We look at their schedule. Tell me right now, you look at the schedule. Are you feeling good, bad, what?
It's a tough schedule.
Yeah,
Like it's tough. It's really tough. Like
and
let's
it's
look
not
at this-
because of their division.
No.
It's the outside the division opponents, right?
It's
you look.
There's
you
a
gotta-
very rough stretch. I want to name off real quick.
Oh yeah, I
There's an
see it.
extreme
Starting at week 5 or week 4 week 3, honestly.
Yeah, week 3 is where it starts. You got the Bengals, good team. The Cardinals, who you'll see, we like the Cardinals.
We like them.
The Browns' defensive front against this offensive line is going to
it's
go
gonna
as
be terrible.
poorly as
Oh
you
my
can
God.
think.
Yeah,
Ravens won't be as good of a defense as they were last year. Going to be good. It's still going to be a decent defense. Panthers, Edgero Evero, and the Panthers easiest one so far in this stretch for sure, but still tough. The Bears, tough. Giants, you get a bit of a break, but Steelers, that's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
Eagles, the Cowboys.
And
Oh
then
my
Tennessee
gosh.
in the bye week, and from there it's like easier. But still, just that's like mid-season, and having the late season bye is not good at all. Like that's just enough time for Dan Quinn to get fired. Like that is just enough.
That is just enough.
No,
Absolutely is, man.
I mean, the good thing is they could start the season off with 2 wins. Like I could see them starting the season 2-0. I can. It's unlikely. I could see it.
It's unlikely. I could see them going 1-1. I think 1-1's happening. That's what I would say.
But you don't think it's possible for them to go 2-0 to start it? Buccaneers, then the Giants?
I mean, yeah, it's 100% possible. 100% possible.
That's kind
now
of
that I think about it, I don't know. Brian Burns is going to kill Jaden Daniels.
Oh, that's fair.
Dexter Lawrence is going to kill Jaden Daniels week 2.
Honestly, I don't even know for a fact that Vita Vea won't kill him in week 1.
Vita Vea, Kalijah Chansey is going to murder him.
Honestly, you could just go through every game. You can. I know week 1, Vita Vea is going to kill him if Jaden Daniels lives. He's getting killed by Dexter Lawrence. Week after that, he's getting killed by Trey Hendrickson. Week after that, he's getting killed by Darius Robinson. I mean, no matter what, I don't feel good. I don't feel good at all. And then, of course, Myles Garrett, Justin Madubuike. Like, I could go through every single game and just name a defensive lineman. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. That's exactly what I mean.
Then you're going to be started on the Eagles. Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, the whole group, man.
It's terrible. The entire way through, it's awful. But give me a floor for them.
I have it written down. Let me bring that up real quick. Where did I put it? Let's bring it up. Okay, so my floor, 2-15. I do see them. Like, I'm not going to say they're not going to win a lot of games, but my floor for them was going to be 2-15. Mm-hmm. What's your floor?
So my floor, we agreed on 2-15, both of us.
Yes,
but then ceiling, we also agreed 7-10.
Yes, 7-10. Mm-hmm. Which, could happen. I don't think it will, but yeah. What's your prediction? My prediction, same as our last one, with the Patriots, going 4-13.
I have 5-12.
Well, not too far off. I'm glad we.
Again, I'm a little bit more optimistic about Jaden Daniels. I think that's the big difference here. But again, I'm still concerned about them being behind the sticks on every drive. I just think Jaden Daniels can do a little bit more to make up for it than you do.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all for this. I hope you all enjoyed. If you want more of my content, feel free to check out the links in the description. If you want to check out Dino's channel, where we're posting even more videos just like this, also look in the description. We already posted one for the Patriots. I highly recommend you check that out. And, this is the second of 4 recordings that me and Dino are planning on doing today. So we got a lot of work ahead of us. But thank you all for joining us for the journey. And we're excited to put more content just like this out. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you all again next time.